Hi there. This class is division using scientific notation. Okay, what is this all about? What are we talking about? Well, first of all, scientific notation. The standard format for scientific notation is a number, a digit, and more numbers times 10 to some power. Here are some examples. 1.0 times 10 to the third, or 5.3 times 10 to the negative 12. Those sorts of things. Before we get too far into this, we're also want to be sure what we're not talking about. There are a lot of YouTube videos that have division explanations, but they just use remainders. They don't go into decimal and let alone power of 10. We're not talking about that. So again, to reiterate, 725.3 is not in scientific notation form, but 7.253 times 10 to the second is. All right, that's the very beginning of what we're talking about here. Who am I, by the way? My name is Alan Speakman. I'm an engineer. I started teaching / tutoring math in high school, and I did that throughout my college career. I've worked with probably over 1,000 different students, almost all of them one-on-one. And then once I finally got out of college, I have 3 degrees, but anyway, when I got out of college, I started also teaching in the corporate world, so my number of students goes well up over 1,000 anyway, well over it. That's me. Okay, the class requirements. There's not much. You want to have a calculator. A handheld is a good thing. Nothing elaborate. I use a basic 4 or 5 function calculator for this sort of thing. Nowadays, of course, with the smartphones and tablets, I have a tablet and I'll be showing you how I use the built-in calculator there. And of course, there are apps, and there are also things online. So you can really do a lot with just simple stuff. Time frame for the class. Each lesson is going to be about, 10 minutes, ballpark. And there will be 6 of them. So about an hour for the class, and you want to plan on spending, all told, 3 to 4 hours to really get this under your skin. So why suffer through this? The reason is pretty straightforward. If you have any interest in moving on at the college level, at the university level, with things like math, physics, chemistry, engineering, astronomy, anything like that, you're going to need this. I was going through my old notes and stuff back in the day when I was just getting started in chemistry class and all that. This is the first thing they hit us with. And it was kind of a hodgepodge of information. It was good enough to get me through. I did get my engineering degree, but it was kind of a hodgepodge, and I wanted to really tack this down. Nowadays, people say, well, I don't really need to understand division using scientific notation. Well, maybe not. One of my hobbies is boat building, and I've had to do battle with long division by hand, because I couldn't find a calculator and the computer wasn't convenient and blah, 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 blah. So there may come the day when you lose your cell phone or whatever, the battery is dead, you name it. You may need this. You may really need this. And beyond that, you really should have a gut feeling for these kinds of numbers and manipulating them. This is important. You'll notice up here I've got the star. What does that mean? That means stuff that you really want to pay attention to, and you might want to write it down. as in this introduction. That's very important. And finally, I guess one of the things is this high-tech presentation. I was very tempted, obviously, to use my tablet and to write this out in computer form. And I thought back to my first semester of electrical engineering, circuit analysis, and it was taught by, in my case, videotape, VHS, believe it or not. And it was a fabulous class. I never met the professor. I never got within 100 miles of the class. It was a UMass Amherst professor. And it was done via, like I said, VHS. It was one of the best classes I ever took. Very, very primitive, relatively speaking, primitive presentation. But it was a fantastic class in that we could stop the VHS, rewind it, and try to figure out what on earth the professor was talking about. So I decided not to go the high-tech route. I decided to kind of go the old Karl Rove route, which is primitive, but hopefully the message will get through. So that's about it. Once again, as far as understand what we're doing, just straight up division using scientific notation. There's a little 1 there. You can't see it, but there's a 1 there. Trust me. This is the first lesson, and let's get started. The first step in this process of understanding this stuff is really grasping what exponents mean. When we take 2 times 2 times 2, notice there are 3 2's there. 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 multiplied by itself 3 times over. We say that is 2 to the third, which equals 8. 2 being the base and 3 being the exponent, and this is the way it's written. So we say that 2 to the third equals 8. This sounds probably pretty redundant for most of you, but you would be surprised how many students I will ask off the cuff quickly, hey, what's 2 to the third? And the answer will come back 6. That's not, I know it's an instinct, but that's not the way the game is played. 2 to the third means 2 times 2 times 2, which equals 8. And so it goes. If we look at 3, for instance, if 3 is the base, 3 times 3 is obviously 9, but that we call it because there are 2 3's involved here. 3 squared equals 9, and so forth. If you want to do 3 times 3 times 3, you would say 3 to the third equals 27, and so forth again. Excuse me. Let's look at the base of 10. If we have a base of 10 and we multiply it by itself 4 times over, we have 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Let's see here. 10 times 10, that's 100. Times 10 is 1,000. Times 10 is 10,000. There. But we also write that as 10 to the fourth, where 10 is the base and 4 is the exponent. 10 to the fourth equals 10,000. And it just goes on and on. 3 to the fourth, well, that's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Pretty boring. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. 27 times 3 equals 81. So far, so good, hopefully. But here's your kind of homework assignment. But, wait a second. Let's start talking about division. After all, this is about division here. What is 3 to the fourth divided by 3 squared? Well, we know that 3 to the fourth is 81, there and there. And we know that 3 squared is 9, there and there. So 81 divided by 9 equals 9, which is 3 squared. Stop and think about this. This is your homework assignment. Try it with different numbers and see what happens as long as you have a like base, that is in this case 3, and you start doing division, what happens relative to the power of the exponents. Notice we went 3 to the fourth divided by 3 squared equals 3 squared. That's your homework assignment, and go ahead and play around with it, and we shall take it from there. Till next time.